Hello, kia ora, g'day. I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch TV on YouTube with your Australia-only forecast through until Monday of next week. More wintry snaps coming into the southeast, maybe even into the southwest as well. While in the tropics and northern parts of Australia, we are seeing a little more heat, a little more humidity, and a few more showers and isolated thunderstorms developing. It's not a major change, but it is a slight change to the weather pattern we've been seeing. So let's try and make sense of it. Today I've stripped away the satellite imagery because I wanted to highlight the rain that is coming through. It was kind of hard to see with all the satellite map over the top. So this is the Bureau of Meteorology's rain radar network, and it shows some decent wet weather moving through South Australia, Victoria, and Tasmania. A little bit brushing into New South Wales. We'll see a little bit more over the next 24 hours. Around Queensland, showers here and there. Most of the showers are further up going towards the tropics, and that's where we are expecting to see more showers over the coming week. But fairly dry for the Northern Territory. A few thunderstorms and downpours around various parts of Western Australia. Huge state, so the showers are scattered here and there, but overall, they're fairly isolated in the sense of those thunderstorms and more showers around the southern coastline behind the cold front that is moving eastwards. So this is the air pressure setup going into the later part of today. The storm near Tasmania is the main feature, and the cold front kind of running ahead of that or next to it. So we are seeing temperatures dropping in Tasmania and coastal parts of Victoria. The front comes on through with windy nor'westers for New South Wales, but behind it, southwesterlies or westerlies. You will notice the temperature down a little bit, may not be a huge amount for some of you, but that is sweeping on through today. Behind it, high pressure building in the Indian Ocean, trying to spread out into Western Australia, not doing a great job of it just yet. And the other high pressure zone out over towards New Zealand, that is stretching back into Queensland, but also encouraging the southeasterly that goes right up into the far north. So let's have a look at the wind. We'll start with that. This afternoon, 1 o'clock today, as that storm tracks past Tasmania, winds do pick up and become blustery up to gale force and maybe beyond gale force. So gale force is around 63 kilometres an hour on the map here. That is the red shading. Problematic winds get up to sort of 80, 90 kilometres an hour. That's when we tend to get branches snapping and power outages. So this is at the lower end of the severe scale, but it is going into that severe weather box as far as I'm concerned. And we've got some blustery conditions around New South Wales, mainly around the Great Dividing Range. For some of you, that may not even really push out to the coastline, but some blustery weather as all of this stuff moves on through today and tonight. And this is tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. More severe gale gusts through Bass Strait and through the islands. Doesn't really affect Victoria as much as it does for Tasmania. And again, it's gusty. It's not always blowing a gale. There'll be gusts that come through, and some of those gusts may cause a couple of isolated power outages. Otherwise, hopefully, you'll be okay. Now by Wednesday here, you can see in the bigger picture that windy setup for Tasmania with the southwesterlies and the west coast rain. The polar airflow also comes in right close to Mount Gambier and over towards about Melbourne. It just sort of hugs the coastline there, so some of you will feel that temperature down, especially around Tasmania. The polar line also comes up very close to the southwest corner of Western Australia. So just to recap, polar air, it spins around Antarctica all year round, and usually in winter and spring it surges up, gives us our cold changes. So that's why we highlight it, because it tells you when you actually will feel the temperature going down. Further to the north, the red line, that's the tropical boundary where the airflow is, or the air is heavy and humid, and you notice it when it drops southwards, and this red line is dropping a little further southwards than it's been. A couple of weeks ago, it got almost down to South Australia. It's not yet doing that, but just spreading out a wee bit further around some of those tropical areas, and that explains why we're seeing a few more showers up here into the northeast. And they carry on into Thursday, and in fact some of those showers pop up into further inland areas, into central southern parts of Queensland as well, even into the southeast and southeast of Queensland and the northeast of New South Wales. A very weak area of high pressure sort of very quickly forms after today's cold front, bubbles up around New South Wales and moves out to sea by Thursday. It's not very strong and powerful, but it's just enough to tilt the winds in Queensland from a southeasterly to a northeasterly. And that lifts the temperatures up by a couple of degrees. Also around that high, nor'westers develop in South Australia, Victoria and Tasmania, and that will lift up your temperature, not much, but a degree or two, you may feel that. Over in Western Australia, no real change, still those southwesterlies in the south with a few showers, nothing much coming in for Perth. And further up into the Midwest, you've got these stronger east to southeasterly winds blowing through. They may be a little brisk at times, a little bit gusty, but nothing too serious. And the red line up here drops even further southwards into the Pilbara. You will notice that the heat is starting to rise up. So as we go through to Friday, that heat starts to push down. It's not just right on the red line. Sometimes it goes just a little bit further south of it. You can feel it. So warmer weather, and now we start to see those showers and thunderstorms popping up through the inland, throughout the outback of Australia, whether that's in South Australia, the Northern Territory, Queensland or New South Wales. All of these areas here, even though it's at the lower end of the rainfall scale, shows that showers are possible and they can be locally heavy and thundery, and that can sometimes break the rainfall key. So keep up to date with the Bureau of Meteorology on those. And further southwards, coming into the southern part of New South Wales and the ACT and eastern parts of Victoria, windy west to northwest winds pick back up again on Friday as another storm comes through past or near Tasmania. So windy nor'westers, more rain for Tassie on northern and western sides, not as much further down around Hobart. And if you're in Adelaide and surrounding areas, windy with southwesterlies blowing through and a few showers, although it may not be a huge amount. So the next surge of windy weather is with that low as it tracks on through. So what you see here on 4 o'clock in the morning Saturday, light winds around Tasmania due to low pressure. Right next to it, damaging gusts coming through. So basically anywhere from South Australia's coastline around to about Melbourne. And this is moving from west to east across the day, so it will surge out into the eastern side of Bass Strait as it does so. This doesn't mean people have damage on the way or power cuts. What it means is the winds get up to that point where it is possible, so it's borderline all the way along the Victoria coastline. Having a look at the bigger picture here on Saturday, storms south of Tasmania, high pressure still in the same place. West of Perth, it doesn't seem to be budging much at all. It is trying to spread a ridge out into South Australia and a wee bit even into New South Wales, all attached to that high pressure zone. So it's sort of ballooning out as it moves in, but it's very slow, and that encourages windy weather, as we just told you about, around Tassie with westerlies and west coast rain. The polar line also comes over you again, so temperatures drop into Tasmania, especially on the western side of it. You'll feel it more so over there. And showers and thunderstorms as convergence where the winds meet and the clouds build up. That's what we're seeing around Queensland and the Northern Territory as we go into Saturday, and to some degree also around New South Wales. New South Wales has both a southerly coming through and maybe some of that afternoon downpour risk. That's still going to move around a wee bit before we get to Saturday, but certainly more unsettled on Saturday. And that means windy weather coming through Bass Strait and into the southeast corner between the border or on the border of New South Wales and Victoria. The ACT may also be caught up in that, but most of that wind is east of the ACT on the tops of the mountains on the edge of the Great Dividing Range. And some of that windy weather could push right to the coastline, including around Sydney and further down around Wollongong and other places like that. So we're not finished yet with the windy weather, and it stays that way going into Sunday morning as another surge tracks through. Again, most of this is coastal and out at sea. So inland areas don't look quite so bad, but again, brushing these coastal areas. So if you're planning on going out on the boat this weekend, maybe not the best weekend to be doing that around Victoria and Tasmania due to the severe gales that are possible in these squally showers that are moving through. On Sunday, windy weather stays, as we just showed you here in that box. That's why we've highlighted it. Does just brush coastal parts of Victoria, but overall, Victoria doesn't look too windy as we go into Sunday. But those southwesterlies will be felt along South Australia and coastal parts of Victoria. They might even turn more westerly there. West coast rain in Tasmania. Lower temperatures remain on the west coast and around Hobart. Up around Queensland, we've got showers, some of those thundery. And again, thunderstorms and showers for the Northern Territory as low pressure sinks around up here. These circles are kind of low pressure areas, and that just brings in some more instability, but it also encourages the windy easterlies next to that high pressure zone that you can see there coming back in, finally coming back in to Western Australia. It's going to take from now until Sunday for the centre of that high to finally make its way in. which means southwesterlies carry on and westerlies carry on for those southern areas. Large dry areas though in between all of this. And as we finish here on Monday, we've got tropical or more northern showers and thunderstorms. This is a wee bit of a change to where we've been. You see that mostly around Queensland, and in the higher elevation areas, we'll be seeing those showers developing. Around the Northern Territory, the Kimberley, and further down, even getting towards the Gascoyne region, we could be seeing showers with thunderstorms on Monday. Elsewhere, this is an easterly flow, which is kind of windy in parts of the Northern Territory and through the deserts of Western Australia. And then as you go down to the south, high pressure's in charge, lighter winds, but that encourages southerlies and southwesterlies again for South Australia. You've got basically a whole week ahead of a few showers and those winds blowing through. And the winds do ease back to some degree around Bass Strait and Tassie. It's still colder in Hobart as we go through your Monday. I'm sorry, the key on a couple of the maps went over the top of you, but I wanted to show some of the tropical weather up here as well. So it's kind of moving it all around on the map. But yeah, high pressure is returning as we go into next week, and that might just give some of those southern areas a bit of a breather following all the wind and cold and showers that we've been seeing. But now we'll be monitoring what goes on up in the tropical part as we go into next week. That's all from me for today. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for all the comments on YouTube. We read them all, even if we can't reply to them all, we definitely read every one of them. So thank you very much. And also appreciate all your local weather forecasts, weather updates, how windy it's been, how wet it's been, if you've had a power outage, or if the wind didn't show up when we said it would. All those bits of feedback are really useful. Thanks for joining me. See you again tomorrow, Wednesday, with our next Australia-only weather update.